Picture this. It's All-Star Weekend. It's February of 2022. It's All-Star Weekend. You're in Cleveland, Ohio. And you go to the team shop, Quicken Loans Arena. It's not the Q anymore. What did that idiot Dan Gilbert change it to? Rocket Mortgage Arena. You're at Rocket Mortgage Arena. And you go to the team shop. It's halftime of the All-Star game. And you see the Cleveland All-Star Game merch. And you think to yourself, God, this sucks. But I'm here, right? I'm on vacation. I might as well treat myself to a $45 shirt. But I'm going to do it. That's what the Cleveland Cavaliers did when they traded for Donovan Mitchell. Now, it just so happens that the aforementioned example, was me, and it also had something to do with Cleveland. You know what the weirdest thing about Rocket Mortgage Arena? I say it's weird. It actually makes complete sense, and I'll explain why. Most of you will know why. There's just a huge Cause doll, like a huge Cause figure. It's like, I don't know, like 12, 15 feet tall. Just like, is it even that big? Just in the arena. It's just there. And I know that Dan Gilbert does the whole StockX thing. You don't have to explain to me why it's there. It's jarring, and it feels like there's even the one that's just in Detroit, but it's, whatever. Anyways, so what have we learned about the Cavs in the last 365 days? We learned that Evan Mobley was the right pick, right? It was going to be hard to mess up in the top three, Cade, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley. Everyone was going to get someone, right? You know what I mean? It was, my whole take was that a horse could have drafted Evan Mobley, right? Like, you don't really give him too much credit for that. The same way that, like, I give Troy credit for drafting Cade because out of all three of them, you had to decide which one you wanted the most. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just being biased because it's my favorite team. Talk about the Cavs, Nick. That's why people are here. And I love the idea that Cleveland made the play-in this year, and they just wanted to coast off that momentum. They're like, we got nothing else going on right now. We had some All-Stars last year. Some guys made some pretty significant leaps. Let's just go all in. And this is here's what I love most about this trade. I love now you also have to keep in mind I'm not as regularly online as I was like a year ago, right? Like, I'm not really on Twitter anymore. So when there are like little rumors, I don't always see it. So me personally, I don't know if this was the case for everybody else. I love when there's a major league altering trade that like we didn't, like nobody was expecting Cleveland. And maybe Cavs fans on like what's the King James Gospel? What's the fan-sided site? Whatever those blogs are, they're like, well, here's why the Cavs should trade for Donovan Mitchell, and then they throw together an insane trade package. But here's the thing: is if I saw an article from like some blogger like a month ago that was like here's my trade proposal: Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland for Agbaji, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, 3 firsts and 2 pick swaps, I would be like, that's cute. It's probably not going to happen though, which just ties back, like that's probably not enough for Donovan Mitchell. Because we're setting such a weird precedent as evidenced by the report that came out about the Knicks when they were like, yeah, we basically wanted the Knicks to sell the franchise to the Jazz and we would just be the Utah Jazzerbachers. I don't know. And that's a whole other conversation that I'm sure people have already done a million deep dives on, where the trade market, the inflation value that's going on, Dark Brandon's got to swoop in, and if he's figuring out all this stuff right now, he's probably got to figure out the inflation of the trade market in basketball. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen. I love this trade because Cleveland also, it doesn't really feel like they tore apart their depth in a way that feels, irrevocable or irresponsible or synonyms. You know what I mean? Like the idea that, okay, you lose Colin Sexton, who, by the way, is going to average 50 a game in Utah. If I'm Cleveland, I know there were reports that like they were interested in bringing him back and like what would that price point look like, and then he was asking for too much money, and then they weren't going to bring him back. So 4 years, $72 million is what Utah gave him. Do I think Cleveland would have given him that? I don't know. Probably not. But it's also like who else would have, because the teams who wanted to spend money had kind of already spent their money, and then the Kevin Durant thing kind of slowed everything up. So like Colin Sexton was kind of in no man's land. So the only way that anything was going to happen is if something like this happened. You know what I mean? And Agbaji, it's like, well, we haven't seen him play an NBA minute. I'm not, if I'm a Cavs fan, it's like, how mad can I really be? Maybe you had put yourself in his hive because of the summer league. You probably didn't, though, right? If you're a Kansas Jayhawk fan, you're probably just like, I'm happy my guy's going to get some run in Utah, right? I don't know. Lauri Markkanen, maybe this is sort of a boomer take at this point because I think he's grown and evolved as a player, but for the sake of getting the joke off, I don't know, you cut out a lot of long twos, and then you lose 3 picks and 2 swaps, and that's, I think, where people get a little bit dicey with it. Also, and I'm not here to... Here's my thing on the Kevin Love part of this. Where's he going? He's not going anywhere. But it's like, I love Kevin Love. He emailed me once, and for what he has done for the recognition of mental health and the services that the NBA needs to better provide for their players, I love him for that. But here's the thing. So LeBron leaves, Kevin Love gets paid. Dan Gilbert's like, we got to keep somebody, right? Kobe Altman, like, we got to keep somebody here. We got to be able to keep an existing foundation that a championship has been won here for all these new guys. Like Colin Sexton, actually, was the first one, really. But, so then as time goes on, all we're seeing from Kevin Love is, like, he's a little bit pouty, and, like, he's just mad because, like, the team stinks. They're not winning games. He's, like, bullying Colin Sexton and, like, throwing basketballs at him and throwing temper tantrums. And, you know, I get a lot of it maybe he would chalk it up to maybe certain, but even he at some points was like, yeah, I was straight up being super overdramatic. And then by the grace of God, Evan Mobley ends up in Cleveland. Darius Garland takes this insane leap. Jarrett Allen, that trade happens. You trade for Karis LeVert, which I still love. That's one of my favorite trades, like, ever. I love that the Cavs did that. They're just doing it because they're like, we got nothing else going on. Like, the Cavs want to, let me just finish on the Kevin Love thing really quick. And then it's like, it all just happens in such a way that, like, now Kevin Love, you know, once things start to go his way, people are like, wow, Kevin Love is really good. Like, is he kind of a dark horse for 6th man of the year? Like, that's something that people were kind of talking about in, like, January, February last year. I don't remember what month it was, but you get what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like this worked out too well for Kevin Love. He got paid the entire time and just there were, like, no consequences to it. Whatever. What was the other thing that I was trying to talk about? Oh yeah, if I'm Cleveland, I'm like, yeah, we had, like, the Mark Price days. You know, that was cool. And then LeBron happened. God, love LeBron. Love that guy, right? And then LeBron leaves and we don't have an identity. Then LeBron comes back. Identity restored. The identity being LeBron. And then he leaves again. And it feels really cool that Cleveland is trying to... Now, that's not to say LeBron's not just going to show up in a year or two, but let's assume he doesn't, right? It feels nice that Cleveland is trying to create this identity where it's like, we're not associating them with LeBron. Maybe that's just me, and maybe it's a weird take, but that's me. Did we really talk about, does this make basketball sense? No. Did I even say how many games I think? What's the improvement here, right? Well, they're definitely going to be a playoff team, right? And I think when you have a thickening East as it is, slight pause there. When you have a thickening East as it is, it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like what Chicago did, right? With the DeMar DeRozan trade. They were just like, fuck it, who cares? 45 wins for the Cavs. How's that? Book it.